David here with Figboot on Pens, back again with another video. It's been a while since I've done a top 10 list, so I thought I would do something a little bit different. I don't have too many pen regrets, but the ones I have generally revolve around not purchasing a pen when I had the chance, whether that was just not taking advantage of a good opportunity, or in some cases not purchasing a limited edition offering while it was still available. High on that list for me is the Platinum Compu. I really liked that pen, but at the time it came out, it was just a little more than I wanted to spend on it. If I recall, it was in like the mid 400 range or something like that. I could have picked one up, but I just decided against it, even though I thought the pen was gorgeous. Well, and they sold out. And it has turned into one of those rare pens which has actually gone up in value considerably. You can find them up on eBay being listed for close to $1,000. Now, a lesson, just because you see items listed for a price doesn't mean that they are actually selling for that price. On eBay, you can refine a search to only see sold items. And in the case of the Compu, I really couldn't find any which were actually being sold for that high price range. But still, they're generally selling for higher than the original MSRP, which is rare. Okay. So I thought for today's video, I would dedicate a top 10 list to those types of pens from my collections. Pens which were fairly readily available to purchase, but are no longer so, and essentially only available to purchase on the secondary market. And then also, in addition to one pen that might eventually fall into that category, but you can still get your hands on. So, in order to take a look at the top 10 pens you can no longer buy, as well as one that you still can, please join me over here at camera 2. To begin with, I had a couple of honorable mentions, and the first one is Leonardo. They have come out with so many limited editions that are very cool and very unique that have sold out. It was hard to limit to one, and so I decided to kind of include a whole bunch of them here in honorable mentions. The first one I had was from Stilo & Stile, and this is called the Cometa. And then Stilo & Stile has produced a number of them. There was the micarta version. There was, let's see, this one was the Andromeda. Boy, that just really looks like a deep, deep space. And then there was the Via Latea, which was another space-themed offering. They also had the Prisma, which was another cool offering. Stilo & Stile has had a lot of them. They did have the Pura, which was basically a frosted Pura, which was only available from Stilo & Stile, which was really nice as well. And I just really loved this frosted material. In regard to a couple of other retailers, this was from Gold Spot. This one here was called Foresta Umbra, and that one is no longer available. And then in regard to some Momento Zero Grande models, this one here was called the Ocean Sunrise, which was available through Limited Pens Korea. And then finally, I had one that was called the Galactica Universe, and I'm trying to remember where I purchased this. I might have purchased it through Applebaum, but this is one I purchased myself because it was a very limited edition and it was quickly selling out all over the place, and I just really liked this material, and so I picked it up. And that one is long gone as well. So there are a number of Leonardos which are no longer available to purchase. Okay, next up is another honorable mention, which is a twofer, and those are pens from Lami. This one up top is the Lami Petrol and the Safari model, and the bottom one is the Copper Orange in the All-Star. And that on an annual basis, Lami does come out with a couple of different limited edition models, and these were some of my favorite. Not all of them hit home for me, but I really loved this Petrol and the accompanying ink, and then the Copper Orange All-Star as well. Just really looks sharp for me. And so these are two of my favorites. And so on those annual editions for Lami, that's one of those things where you want to jump on those if it's something that hits home, because they will be gone and then no longer be available. And finally, for the honorable mentions, I had to mention my own projects on here. The very first one was the Leonardo Momento Zero. This one was just called the Figboot on Pens. And then also I wanted to show you, I'm not sure if I've shared this that much, but when we were doing prototyping for this, we were trying to determine whether or not it looked best polished or matte. It's a little hard to see here, but this top one is matte and this bottom one is polished. And while I really, really liked the matte, I think the polish just turned out a little bit better. So this matte version here is pretty much a one of one. There's only one of these that were ever made. But I thought it turned out nicely and I enjoy using it. In regard to some of the next projects, after that we had a Carolina Midnight. This was the standard Memento Zero model, and then we had some leftover materials, so we decided to make a Memento Zero Grande model in that same material. And then after that, I partnered with Franklin Christoph, and this is their Model 66, and this was called the California Sunset. And then after that, we had the Prisma, which has that frosted resin that I really like. And then finally, I mentioned up top that there's one pen that's still available on this list, and that would be my Visconti Voyager Del Mar. I was really proud of this project. It's something that I think turned out really, really nice. I just love this Jonathan Brooks resin. This deep blue just really kind of reminds me of the ocean in the Del Mar, California area. Very proud of this project, and I still have just a few left. You can go to my website, figbootonpens.com, to check them out. But like I said, there's only a few available, and once they are gone, they will be gone. Okay, here we go with the top 10 list, and these are in no particular order, and some of these might have varying levels of difficulty to obtain. Some might be easier to obtain on the secondary or gray market, and other ones might be more difficult. But to lead things off, we have one of my favorite lower cost pens, which is the Loom from Faber Castell. And this is my favorite version of this pen, which kind of has the matte cap and the matte barrel. I like that better than the shiny barrel that they have. This is a pen that I believe has been discontinued. It is rather difficult to find. For the most part, you can only find it on eBay. That I enjoy the little worry stone here in the back. And this stainless steel nib is one of my favorite stainless steel nibs in my collection. This nib is outstanding. It has a real unique feedback to it that is just very distinctive and something enjoyable. It's one of those things to where if this nib was just on any other pen and you blindfolded me, I could tell it's the Loom nib. It just has a real distinctive feedback to it that I find really pleasant. But the Faber-Castell Loom, you can see that it is engraved here on the side, is a high quality pen that normally was retailing for maybe right around $60 to $70, something like that. And if you could ever find one, that it's a reasonably priced pen that performs way above its price range. Next up, we have a pen which is probably the most recent release on this list, and that would be the Inso Puma Arushi. Inso has been doing a really great job lately of coming up with new and unique designs, and this one really surprised me. One, just because I wasn't anticipating Inso producing an Arushi pen, and then also the price was amazing. That this pen was under $400, I believe, and it was a real nice Arushi pen that even has a 14 karat gold nib. So to get an Arushi pen on with a 14 karat gold nib for under $400 was amazing, and it is understandable that these got snatched up very, very quickly. And they perform nicely as well. It's a nice size pen, and like I said, Inso has been doing a really good job lately of coming out with new and different and unique things, and I'm always interested to see what they come up with next. This next pen is a bit of a question mark because over the last 5 years or so, there's been a lot of questions surrounding this company. Are they still in business? Are they producing pens? When will they produce pens? They started producing only one model, but as far as I know right now, this model is not available, and who knows if it will be available again, and that is the Conid Bulk Filler King Size. First of all, this is just a really nice sized pen, and the manufacturing on it is just very precise, and it's just a very well engineered pen. It uses a unique bulk filler mechanism where you go ahead and pull this piston back and you screw it into the piece here and you pull it down, suck up your ink here, and then you lock this piece in place, and then you can go ahead and seal this. And then the chamber gets sealed off. You could see in here, it gets sealed off. And so when you want to release ink, then you release that, and you can see it create that seal between the chambers. One of the things I really like on this, it's hard to see, but I had them, you can have the underside of the clip engraved. And so I had it engraved with Figboot. And I just thought that was kind of cool that it's something you can only see under the clip. But then also, since this cap is clear, you could see it through the cap as well. This is just a pen that is very high on my list of favorite pens, and I hope that Conid gets back to full production sometime in the near future. Okay, next up on this list is a pen that was from a company that was around and then not around and then has come back in another iteration, and that is Omas, and the pen I have here is the Mylord Arco. Just the Arco finish in Arco material celluloid is one of my favorites. I have a couple of pens with Arco on it, and it's just for the longest time, this pen was my grail pen as far as obtaining something that had the Arco on it. And I love the size of it. It's large, has a really nice ebonite feed. This is a pen that I had purchased used, and then I detailed this in my review, but I actually had issues with the piston mechanism that basically rotted out and had mold inside there and was unusable. And I thought this pen was going to be unusable, but I was able to send it off to Scribo. Now, I don't believe they want to be working on old Omas pens, but they did have some old Omas employees working for Scribo. And they were very nice and were able to replace the piston mechanism in here. Like I said, they're not in the business of working on Omas pens, but they were very nice that they did that for me. And it basically revived my pen to where I could use it again because it was unusable before with the damage that was done inside there. But I just really love this pen. I really love the different layers that you could take a look at in here. And the nib on these original Omas pens are glorious as well. So this is one of my favorite pens in my collection, and also one of my favorite pens that you can no longer purchase. The next pen on the list is another question mark company. They are still producing nibs, but the pen production has been a little bit spotty, and I don't believe that this model has been produced for quite some time. The name of the company is Winfield, and the pen is the Highwater. There's just a lot going on with this pen that I really like. It's just extremely well crafted. The gentleman behind the brand came from a jewelry making background, and you could really tell with a lot of these handmade parts that they're just very crisp and very clean and very well made. This is a carbon fiber cap that is hand spun with the carbon fiber, and then the barrel is made from micarta with a glossy finish to it. And one of my favorite things about this pen is this section. If I ever did a video on my favorite sections, this would definitely be included, to where this was a section, but then was kind of buffed out with a jewelry tool. And it serves a couple of purposes. One is it takes a metal section that could have been slick and makes it not slick, and then also it just has a really cool look to it. And so I just really like the uniqueness of this pen and how well it's crafted. And I hope that Winfield gets back to making kind of their standard lines of pens fairly soon. They make some amazing nibs, some amazing stack nibs, and I believe he's been focusing on that lately. But his pens, if you ever can get your hand on one, are amazing as well. Next up on this list, we have a pen from a company that is no longer making pens. That I obtained this pen, and then literally like a week or two after I obtained it, they went out of business. And so it never got reviewed. The name of the company is DeNoble, and the pen is the Blue Phantom. This is a company that was based out of Moldova, which is a European country. A lot of Americans might think that it is the country that the Princess Diary movies were based out of. No, that's Genovia. Genovia is not Moldova. But this pen is very nice. I'm a big fan of larger pens. You can see it's engraved with the Noble here. And this really reminded me of a Sailor King of Pen. It just has that look and feel and size to it. It has a number 6 Bach nib. The size is really nice on this. He had a number of different models, and that I was just really attracted to the size and the style, which reminded me of that Sailor King of Pen, but they sold for fairly reasonable prices. If you could ever get your hands on a De Noble pen, especially one of their Phantom models, then it's well worthwhile. Okay, next up is another pen from Omas. It is a pen that I had always wanted, and then last year at the Triangle Pen Show, I saw that one was available in an auction, and I decided to hang around and purchase it, or attempt to purchase it, and I did, and that would be the Omas 360. I just really have always wanted to add one of these 360s to my collection. I feel that it's just a really unique material and a really unique size and shape, and I really like that this one is somewhat translucent, so you can see a lot of what's going on in there. Over the last year, though, this was brand new stock, literally in the box. Still in the wrapper. I will say that over this last year, there has been some cracking on the inner cap here. You can see some of that cracking. That's not through abuse. I think that's just, it was an older pen. And so I'm actually working on obtaining a new inner cap for that, because I believe I can replace that. But other than that, the nib is fantastic. The older Omas nibs are incredible. This triangular section is rather unique. It does take a bit of getting used to grip onto that. But again, I like larger pens. I like thicker sections. And this one fits into that category nicely and performs really nicely as well. It came with a bottle of turquoise ink that I enjoy. And so this has turned into one of my favorite pens. And so I was really glad last year that I was able to add this to my collection, but they're rather difficult to find, especially one that is brand new, basically new old stock that was unused. That is difficult to obtain. Okay, next up on my list is a pen that when people ask me, what is your favorite pen? Often I say this particular pen, and that is the Sailor King of Pen Pro Gear Sky. There's a lot of things I love about this model. It was a limited edition that was available maybe 6 or 7 years ago, something like that. I just love this blue material. It matches really well with Pilot Rosuzuku Konpeki. That color is basically just meant for this pen. And I just love the size and the look and feel of this particular pen. It was a pen that I had wanted and really drug my feet on, and then it was sold out just about everywhere. And then I took a trip to New York City and was visiting the Fountain Pen Hospital, and I look in one of their displays, and lo and behold, they have one pen left, and it was a medium, which was the size that I wanted. So I felt that I had to take advantage of it, because that might have been the last one that was available in any retailer in the US. So I felt that was basically fate. And then after that, that was actually the day that I went and interviewed Neil deGrasse Tyson. And so this pen has a lot of sentimental value for me because I really do love this pen. It has a really nice thick section. The King of Pen nib is just incredible. It's probably one of my favorite nibs in my collection. I just love the translucent look, and you can get a look at everything going on inside this pen. And the fact that it's no longer available makes it a little bit more scarce. So there's just a lot about this pen that kind of hits the right marks for me. And it's very high on my list of pens I would never sell if I decided to sell off some of my pens. This one isn't going anywhere. This one is staying with me for the rest of my life. And it's one that if you could ever get your hands on, I would highly recommend. Okay, 2 more to go. I'm often asked what my grail pen is. I didn't have one for a long time, but for a long time, my answer was this pen right here, which is the Mont Blanc Alfred Hitchcock. Um, it was one of those things to where it was a limited edition. It was no longer readily available at retailers. On the secondary market, it was insanely expensive. Normally, you were seeing them in literally the $3,000 and $4,000 and $5,000 range for one of these pens. I'm a big movie buff. I'm a huge Hitchcock fan, and so it kind of hit a number of buttons for me as far as a unique theme. I thought it looked really cool. It just has all sorts of references to Hitchcock's movies. We have the knife from Psycho. This is the material here on the barrel and cap are in reference to the opening title sequence for the movie Vertigo. There's just lots of references in here. Even on the nib, we have Alfred Hitchcock's famous profile. But for the longest time, I just really didn't think that I was ever going to obtain this pen, just because it was more than I was willing to spend. And then lo and behold, I had a pen friend who purchased one of these from an Asian retailer. It was a legitimate Asian retailer, but it was one that they had some old stock. And it was at a price that was fairly reasonable, and he happened to have one more. And I knew that even though it was going to be the most expensive pen I purchased in my collection, that was going to be the best price I ever got this pen for, or I would see it for. And so I had to take advantage of it. And I haven't regretted it at all, because it's one of my favorite pens in my collection. And like I said, also, it just really ties into some of my interests that I have. And so pens that can kind of tie into your personal interest like that just become that much more special. And this is, again, very high on my list of pens I would never sell, and enjoy it very much. And then it performs nicely on top of that, as far as, and as well as looking really, really cool. And finally, we've come to the last on this list, and I would probably call this number one on my list. And I am fortunate enough to have two of them in my collection, and that would be the classic Pens LB5. This one here in brown is called the Koseki, and then this one here in the blue is called the Tensui. There were, 6 or 7 different colors. Each of these were only had 50 each. And the distinguishing feature of these pens is the resin that was used. That was basically bonded together in a molecular level, and so that rather than the material being lengthwise, that it is kind of a cross section of it. And so you just see the individual layers, and it just provides a really interesting look to it. You can see it on the blue as well, but it's not as distinctive because the blue kind of blends in a little bit more, but it's there. This was a partnership between Classic Pens and Sailor, which is why it has Sailor branding on the external part of this pen. And it was based on the King of Pen model, but it is slightly larger than a King of Pen. It does have a Sailor King of Pen nib in here, and the Sailor housing, which is recognizable, and a rather thick and chunky section, which I love. And this one has the gold-colored nib and gold trim. And then for the Tensui, you can see that it has the silver-colored nib and the silver trim. So this pen has a lot going on for it. One, it is scarce, that there are not many around, and they don't come up for sale that often. I did see one that was listed on eBay recently, and they were wanting $12,000 for it. They originally retailed in the $1,500 range. I thought that $12,000 was extremely unreasonable. Eventually it was sold, and I actually contacted the owner to see, or the retailer to see if they would let me know what it sold for, because I was just curious. They wouldn't say what it sold for, and so I have a feeling it was considerably less than the $12,000 that they were asking, because I felt that was very unreasonable. If I was to ever put these up for sale, it would probably be in the $4,000 to $5,000 range. But these are some of my most cherished pens in my collection, and they would be some of the last to go if they were ever to be liquidated. But I love the looks. I love the feel. I love that it's something that's rare. I love the material that's used. And it's really considered to be a grail pen and something that I'm very fortunate to have not one, but two of. So it's something that I very much enjoy. And if you could ever get your hands on one for we'll call it a reasonable price, it is definitely a grail pen to add to your collection. Okay, so even though this isn't all of them, I just thought I'd put these back up here. I hope you had enjoyed taking a look at some of these pens. Typically, I try to focus on pens that you can purchase, but I just thought it'd be interesting to take a look at some that are a little bit more difficult to get your hands on. And who knows, maybe one of these can turn into your grail pen, which you could then hunt down, and then there'd be that intense level of satisfaction when you finally get one into your possession. But until next time, thanks for watching, and I'll talk to you later.